So today we're going to talk more about unit rates, and we've learned about unit rates a little bit in our last lesson on the PlayPosit. You learned what a unit rate is. So here's what we had from our last notes. We learned what a unit rate was. We did a couple examples of how to turn things into unit rates and explain in words what that means. We've talked a little bit about unit rates. We're going to spend a whole nother day just practicing finding unit rates further. So at the top of these notes, go ahead and put unit rates. And again, unit is our key word here. Unit just means one. So the amount that it is for one of a certain quantity. And then don't forget, when we're talking about rates, that means we're comparing two different things. So you have two different quantities you're comparing, and the second quantity has to be a one. Some examples of unit rates that you see most often is probably this, miles per gallon or miles per hour. Your parents will also probably recognize this term, miles per gallon. So a lot of times we talk about how efficient our car is based on how many miles we get per gallon. So on 1 gallon of gas, how many miles can your car drive? If you're a sports person, you might see a lot of points per game. And a lot of the stats that you'll hear on ESPN or whatever you use for your sports news, a lot of it is unit rates based on per game or per season or per whatever. A lot of them. Anytime it has the word per in it, typically that is going to be a unit rate. Okay. Biggest thing for unit rates is you must include both of your labels. So you are going to have two labels every time you give me a unit rate. So you can't say my answer is just 60 miles because it's going to be like 60 miles per hour. You can't say you get 30 miles because it'll be 30 miles per gallon, or if you do 8 points, it'd be 8 points in one game, so per game. So you're going to have to make sure you include two labels, and I always am going to keep my unit rates as fractions. I'll show you two ways to write it, and throughout this video, you can answer the questions either way. I would recommend it either way, and same thing when you do homework, so I'll have it both ways. I will either have it as a fraction or with the word per in the middle, or if it's miles per hour, this is an acceptable way to label that. Okay, so for each of these, with the unit rates I'm giving you here, a big note for you guys to see is anytime I'm giving you values, if you ever have money for a value, typically that's going to be your numerator. So I always write unit rates as fraction. So I know this is going to be $4.32 for 6 apples. So we're going to write it as a fraction, and then we're going to take this fraction and we are going to use it and find a unit rate. So what that means is you always want your denominator or your second number to be 1. Well, if I want 6 to be 1, I have to divide it by 6. So just try to think, what can I divide 6 by in order to make it 1? Well, I know 6 divided by 6 is going to give me 1. So my denominator here is 1 apple. And then if you divide your denominator by 6, you have to do the same with your numerator. So if you do $4.32 divided by 6, open up your Desmos calculator. We're doing $4.32. We're dividing it by 6. When you do that, you get 72 cents. Okay, so my answer here would be 72 cents over 1 apple. So as a unit rate, this is a great answer, so write it as a fraction. Please notice whenever you're giving me money, if you do not have any dollars, like if it's only 72 cents, please still put a 0 in front of the decimal. Don't just put 0.72. And then another way you could write it, so you got two options for writing it. That's an acceptable option. And then you could always just put this. So you could just put 72 cents per apple. And I will also have this as an answer choice as well. So if it's a unit rate, either write it as a fraction like this with a 1 as your denominator, or get rid of the 1 as the denominator and just use the word per, and that way you don't have to worry about fractions anymore. All right, so let's take a look at number 5. So for number 5, it's $20.04 for a dozen pens. Let me remind you that a dozen means 12. Okay, so I will set up your fraction for you, and then I'm going to have you finish it up. 12 pens. Okay, so here's your fraction. Again, your goal is for this bottom number to be a 1. If it's a 12 right now and I need to turn it into a 1, that means I need to divide the top and bottom both by 12. So go ahead and divide the top and bottom both by 12, and then write in what is your unit rate in number 5. You can either write it in as a fraction just by using the backslash, or you can write it in using the word per. All right, so if you go into your calculator, you divide 20.04 by 12. So 20.04 divided by 12, we get $1.67. Okay, so it's $1.67 over 1 pen. Or if you want to write out $1.67 per pen and use the word per instead, that is fine too. All right, last one with these. Let's go ahead and do number 6. So it's 22 and a half miles, or 22 and a half minutes to run 3 miles. Go ahead and write it as a fraction and then find your unit rate for number 6. What do you get? Okay, so when we write it as a fraction, we got 22.5 minutes. We have 3 miles. Again, your goal with unit rates is to make it so your denominator is a 1. Right now, my denominator is a 3. So in order to turn 3 into 1, I need to divide by 3, which means I have to do my numerator divided by 3. Down here, I now have 1 mile. And then up top, when you do 22.5 divided by 3, you end up with 7.5 minutes. Okay, and then again, you can always write it using the word per. You would just say 7.5 minutes per mile. All right, so that means each mile took them 7.5 minutes to run. All right, and again, I don't care which way you write it, either a fraction or writing it all out, but please include your labels. Like, please include minutes. You have to include miles. You can't just say 7.5, or you can't just say 1.67. Side note, when your answer is money, always put your dollar sign in front. Don't put it back at the end, although when we say it, sometimes it's like a lot of times we'll say it and have a dollar sign after it, like $4, but put that in front, dollar sign in front. All right, when I give you a table, it's similar, but instead of in a table, I'm just going to still divide, but when we do our dividing, we're going to always do the second number divided by the first number, because I want to know how many cookies we eat per hour. I don't want to know hours per cookie. So it just makes more sense to know how many cookies we eat each hour instead of saying how many hours we have per cookie. Okay, so whenever I give you a table, you're always going to do the second number divided by the first number. So in this case, my second number, and you can choose any of the any ordered pair you want to, or any data point they give you. I always just stick with the first one. So you can do 4 divided by 2. You could also do 10 divided by 5. You could do 24 divided by 12, or you could do 48 divided by 24. So they will all give you the same answer, because all the unit rates here are going to be the same. And again, all I did is the second number divided by the first number, second number divided by first number, second divided by first, the second number divided by the first number. Okay, when you do that, I know half of 4 is 2, 10 divided by 5 is 2, 12 fits into 24 twice, and then 48 divided by 24 also gives me 2. Okay, but again, for your unit rate, you can't just say 2. It's 2 of these per one of these, or over one of these. So I'm going to say 2 cookies. So 2 cookies over 1 hour. Or you could say 2 cookies per hour. Either of these are fine. Okay, and sometimes, like when I give you a SWIC or maybe on a test, sometimes to give you a little hint, I'll say, give me your answer in cookies per hour. So I will give you this part of it. I'll say cookies per hour, and that'll help you know how to do your dividing, because sometimes it's hard to know, like, do I do 2 divided by 4, or do I do 4 divided by 2? Well, if I want your answer in cookies per hour, that means take the number of cookies and divide by the number of hours. Okay. All right, let's try 8 and 9. So for number 8, again, you always do the second number divided by the first number. And when you're dividing here, remember your answer is money. So if it doesn't come out nicely, I need you to round it like you would round money. Money is allowed to have 2 numbers behind the decimal. So when you give me your answer for number 8, I need labels. It's going to be dollars over, not apples, dollars over pounds. And writing out the whole, except for cost, just use a dollar sign. But writing out pounds like this is going to be your best bet. But for number 8, go ahead and find your unit rate. Do your dividing, round it like money. Think of how you divide money, and then write out your unit rate with labels for number 8. Go ahead. All right, when you divide 1 divided by 3 in your calculator, you end up with a repeating decimal. Again, this is money, so remember you're allowed to have 2 numbers behind the decimal, so the third 3 tells the second 3 to just stay the same. So I'm going to call this 33 cents. Okay, because this just gives me this, and actually all of them are going to give me that. If you try any of them, it doesn't matter which ones you do. The order does matter, but the point you choose to use or the data point you choose to use does not matter. So it's always the second number divided by the first number. Don't do 3 divided by 1, because then you're telling me it costs $3 for 1 apple or 1 pound of apple, and that's not true. Okay, all right, and then we need to write it out as a unit rate. So as a unit rate, I have my answer was 0.33, my y value, so we always are going to do y divided by x when you're doing this. Here's my x, there's my y. If you take y divided by x, the y is money, so that means money is going to go on top. And then the x is number of pounds of apples, so I'm going to put 1 pound. Okay, so it's 33 cents for 1 pound. Or if you want to say 33 cents per pound, that would also be fine. All right, last one I'm going to have you do is number 9. Go ahead and do your dividing. It's always second number divided by first number. Choose any point you want to. And then I need a final answer with labels. Number 9, go ahead. All right, I'm just going to choose this first one. I'm going to take 1.5 and divide it by 0.25. They should all, if you divide it correctly, they should all give you 6. But you can't just say your answer is 6. It's 6 over 1, and then you have to label it. So it's 6 of these over 1 of these. So 6 miles over 1 hour. Or anytime it's miles and hours, you can say 6 miles per hour like this, either way. All right, great. And then one more way we're going to look at this, and we're just going to look at the graphs here. When you're looking at your graphs here, again, your second value, when you're doing unit rates, your second value is always going to be a 1. And notice here our second value, we did y divided by x, so x was the second value, y divided by x, so x was our second value. Same thing here, when you're looking at table or at graphs, you want your x's, remember the x-axis is along the bottom, you want your x to be 1. So what you're looking for is when the x is 1, what is the y on that graph? So look at your graph number 10, find the 1, follow it up, and follow it over. Okay, so this right here, this ordered pair would be 1, 6, and it's 1 of these, so 1 minute, and then it's 6 of these. We got 6 feet. 1 minute, 6 feet. Okay, when you write your unit rate, you always put the second number or use the y value over the x value. So I'm going to say 6 feet. For this unit rate, we'll say that it is 6 feet over 1 minute. And there we go. So it's nice because with with graphs, if you find the 1 down here on the x-axis, follow it straight up, and whatever number you get to, that's always just going to be your top number. You don't have to do any dividing or anything. Okay, or you can say 6 feet per minute if you'd like to write it that way. 6 feet per minute is fine. All right, let's try your next 2. And again, tables or graphs are nice because you don't have any dividing to do. Okay, so you just find the 1 on the x-axis, follow it straight up till it meets the graph, then follow it straight over, and it's at a 3. So this point right here is 1, 3. And I'm going to label the ordered pair just to help me know what I'm talking about. It's 1 of these, 1 ice cream cone, and then 3 of these, $3. So these are cones, ice cream cones, and these are dollars. And it's always y over x, so $3 over 1 cone. I'm going to use red here. Okay, so final answer, $3, 1 cone. No dividing needed, but you do have to do your labels. All right, and then last one we're going to do one more graph. Take a look at this graph, and I will help you. I know it's kind of hard to see. This number right here, that is a 5. So notice each 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Each tick mark is worth 1. Okay, so I'll help you just finding the ordered pair. Find the 1 on the x-axis, follow it up, follow it over, and it gets you to the 3. So you're at 1, 3. Please write that as a unit rate with labels using the labels that they give you here. Go ahead. What is this one as a unit rate? All right, so again, it's always the y over the x. So I'm going to put 3 on top, and it's 3 of these, because that's the x. So I have 3. Oh, sorry. That's the y value. So if I want the y value, it's 3 of these. So $3 over 1 pound. Okay, and it's just like with rate of change. When we did rate of change here, it was always this label over that label. So dollars over cones or dollars over pounds. It's always the y label over the x label. Okay, so you take your y, put it on top, and then make sure you match up this y value with this y label, this x value with this x label. So $3 over 1 pound, or you can just say $3 per pound. And I'll just use LB since they just used LB. All right, there you go. All right, so please make sure you have your notes filled out. Well, if you want to try these bottom ones, I have the notes posted if you want to try them and see if you got them correct. But go ahead and make sure you have these notes done. We've now talked about unit rates just given words. So just these first 3 examples, just giving words and finding a unit rate. We've taken tables and found unit rates, and we've also taken graphs and found unit rates. So we now can find unit rates using 3 different forms, just words, tables, or graphs, and we're able to divide them out and find our unit rate. So feel free to rewatch whatever you need to, and message me if you have any questions.